Some of these are obvious, but trust us, many are not. But in a five-way tie for fourth place, we do get to one of the names you were all expecting. Francis Ngannou might just hit harder than any other man to ever lace up MMA gloves, and though his time in the UFC was a little shorter than expected, he still managed to score enough knockouts to find a spot on this list. You do get the sense that the Predator would have eventually challenged for the top spot if he had stuck around a little longer, but for now, 10 KOs is still a lot more than most fighters manage. Next up, we have a fighter who did some incredible work across two different weight classes during a long and successful run in the top flight. Donald Cerrone may have slumped to a pretty bleak run of form just before his eventual retirement, but in his heyday, his ability to score highlight reel finishes was as elite as it gets. His kicks were usually at the front and center of everything he did well, and the threat of getting hit with that baseball bat to the side of the head played on the minds of every single opponent Cowboy ever faced. If we were counting WEC victories, Cerrone would climb even higher on this list too. Junior Dos Santos was yet another big hitter from the heavyweight golden era that managed to do insanely good work with his hands. From his debut KO of Fabrizio Verdum to his late career finishes of Tai Tuivasa and Derek Lewis, JDS was an incredibly slick operator in the cage. His boxing was as good as it got at heavyweight for years, and that sniper-like precision was on full display when he shocked the world by KOing the great Cain Velasquez to win UFC gold. Sure, Cain managed to get his revenge over their next two meetings, but Dos Santos was pretty much fighting at the top level from that point onwards. One of the slickest boxers in UFC history, and a contender for one of the all-time great KO artists of the heavyweight division. The aforementioned Cain Velasquez comes in next, a guy who, while not necessarily known for his KO power in the same way that JDS or Ngannou is, weaponized pace to a truly devastating effect. Cain didn't one-shot people like most heavyweights. No, he was a force of attrition. In his prime, Cain would bludgeon his opponents, breaking them down with his insane cardio before the ref had no choice but to stop the fight. Sure, his devotion to having such incredible stamina ended up cutting his career short as his body simply gave out on him, but in his prime, Velasquez was just about as good as a fighter as we've ever seen. Remember, if you're enjoying this content, be sure to leave a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you don't miss a single upload. You might be surprised to see the former middleweight champion Michael Bisping capping off the fourth place picks with 10 finishes by strikes. Bisping, of course, won a UFC title with a clean KO of the great Luke Rockhold, but in general, he wasn't exactly known for his one-punch KO power. However, Bisping's another guy who weaponizes his great cardio, and while sure, he's no Ngannou, he started his UFC career with 3 straight TKOs and then gradually built his way up to the 10 that gets him a spot on this list. Yet another surprising entry, but it makes sense the more you stop and actually think about it. If you go around with a tattoo of a hammer on your chest, you're surely going to be able to deliver insane power with the type of ferocity that Thiago Santos brings to the table. We've had a few entries so far that you might be surprised by, but this should not be one of them. Whether he was competing at middleweight or light heavyweight, Santos was more than capable of shutting anyone's lights out. In fact, whenever he did get his hand raised, it was pretty much guaranteed to be a KO. During his decade-plus run in the UFC, he only won by decision 3 times, scoring 11 finishes with his strikes. Max Holloway may have developed legit power in his later years, but he's been overwhelming his opponents for years now through his insane volume and dynamism on the feet. Holloway finds his way into joint third on our list through his uniquely effective commitment to offense. Once Max gets going, he's damn near impossible to stop. His 11 finishes by strikes are a testament to just how powerful his momentum can be when he really starts to pick up the pace. Expect Max to climb this list before too long. Yet another great boxer comes in next in the form of Dustin Poirier, a guy who was a capable puncher at featherweight, but only truly found his power when he decided to forego that brutal weight cut and step into the lightweight division. Poirier's left hook is one of the finest weapons in the sport, period. Plus, his cardio and skills as a combo puncher allow him to really open up on his opponents when he senses a finish. Poirier is without question one of the most dangerous guys to have in front of you if you're wilting, or if your chin is starting to fail you. His instincts for the finish are truly spectacular, and it should come as no surprise that he ranks as highly as he does here. This next one should come as absolutely no surprise at all. The late great Anthony Johnson used to hit people so damn hard that he earned the name Rumble because of it. Before Francis Ngannou effectively ended the debate about the most powerful puncher in the sport, Rumble had that title all to himself, first as a welterweight, then briefly as a middleweight and even a heavyweight, before eventually settling in the 205-pound division. Johnson likely could have KO'd most heavyweights on the UFC roster if he had given it a shot, and the fact that he scored 11 KOs is a testament to how good he was at finding his opponent's off switch. The longest win streak in UFC history contains some of the most iconic finishes in the history of mixed martial arts. See Seeing Anderson Silva taking home the final tied third place just makes a whole lot of sense. Silva was a striker that took the sport to a different level as soon as he arrived. From his debut KO of Chris Lieben, up to his late-reign knockouts of Stephen Bonner and Vitor Belfort, Silva was operating on a level that these middleweights just couldn't touch. In fact, he was so good that he took fights at 205 pounds just to keep himself active. Maybe some of the newer MMA fans tuning in might be a little surprised to see Matt Brown coming in with a second-place finish here, but anyone who's followed the Immortal over the years likely saw this coming from a mile off. Brown has always hit like a truck. His ability to extend his career way past his so-called prime has been truly wild to behold. If we had also counted his 2 KOs on The Ultimate Fighter 2, Matt Brown could have tied our overall winner for the top spot, but as things stand, he holds on to the runner-up position comfortably. Was there ever any doubts over who would take home the win here? Derek Lewis is the type of fighter who could never exist in any other weight class except heavyweight. The dude is power personified, a truly awe-inspiring puncher who uses his natural physical gifts as a get-out-of-jail card more than any other fighter we've ever seen. It's not just his punching either. Lewis's ability to just power his way out of bad positions on the mat is so unique, but it's that one-hitter quitter hammer blow in his hands that has kept him relevant for so long. Lewis doesn't need to be doing well for the majority of the fight to find the perfect moment to strike. Just ask guys like Volkov or Blades. These fighters were putting on excellent performances right up until the moment that the Black Beast connected flush and shut them down. That's a truly special level of power right there.